I've been retired about 5 years now, but I've worked with some really interesting people, some real characters. I was a truck driver, and I worked with guys who were truck drivers that ran the gamut. One was a teacher who'd quit teaching, decided to become a truck driver. One guy was going to law school while he was working with us, and he went on to be a lawyer. Pretty decent one, too. This one guy who could be funny as hell, but he was really full of himself. He was a big guy. He was 6'7", about 310 pounds, and he was massive. He was huge, broad shoulders. He looked like a bodybuilder, and he walked, with this huge build of his. And he was just so full of himself. But he was funny as hell. And sometimes he would get together with another guy, another one of our drivers, in the break room, and they would start swapping stories back and forth. They would make things up in front of other people that didn't know any better. They might be a road driver who was visiting from Chicago, picking up a load. And when they would tell these stories, those drivers would sit there with their mouths hanging open, not trying to look like they weren't listening, but taking it all in. Now this guy's name was Rick, and the other guy was Gary, and they would talk back and forth to each other as if they were swingers, and that they swapped wives, and they would talk about, oh hey, last night, your wife was, da 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 da, and they would go back and forth like this. Rick's wife's name was Debbie, and every once in a while, when they would do this, he would throw in the fact that, which was not true, but the fact that Debbie was a stripper, and boy, she made some really good money at it, and hell, of course, she gives me shows at home, too. So one day, Rick said to me, hey, Ken, my 20th anniversary's coming up. He was like maybe 45 years old. He said, Ken, my 20th anniversary's coming up, and I want to give something to my wife. I want to write her something, but I can't write anything. And it's like, yeah, Rick, I kind of figured that. He says, well, do you think you could write something that I could give to my wife for an anniversary present? I said, yeah, sure, I can do that. So I did. And this is what I wrote for him. It's called Save the Last Dance for Me. Friends and family smiled at the old couple while waiting for the proceedings to start. 50 years to the day that he swept her away, and she still held the key to his heart. Deborah held out her hand to the only real man who could give her a love that was true. Richard gave out a sigh as he looked in her eye and reflected on all they'd been through. From that first table dance, when you pulled down my pants, I just knew that your heart would be mine. Oh, you were quite a tease, always eager to please, with a body so splendid and fine. You put all that aside when I made you my bride, and we made our first daughter legit. No more dancing in bars, steaming windows in cars. You decided you wanted to quit. For the last 50 years we've shared laughter and tears, and you've made my life full and complete. And my one greatest pride since I made you my bride is the pleasure of our family. Now I'm old and I'm gray, and I'm happy this way. But there's one thing I'd like you to do. Make me feel like a king. Put on your old G-string. No one else did it better than you. Deborah gave him a wink, said, Old man, take a drink and wash down 2 tabs of Geritol. 'Cause I still have my moves, and you don't want to lose your last chance to see me bear it all. But dear Richard, right now we must renew our vows in the presence of all our old friends. Then once they've gone home, and we are quite alone, you can help me take off my depends. Yeah. I wrote it, I printed it, framed it, he wrapped it, he gave it to her at this dinner that they had with about 40 family members for their 20th anniversary, and he read it to her. And she loved it. Save the last dance for me. Yeah, I worked with some real characters, but then I guess maybe I was a real character myself. Ciao, folks. Vlog on.